We are live. How about you, everybody? Welcome into this week's episode of the Auburn Live Call-In Show. We're going to talk about everything, anything you want to. Used to be a recruiting show, now we're going to do it all. We're very versatile. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. If you're not a member of that site, dadgummit, you are missing out, son. Let me tell you, ain't a dull moment at Auburn, and we're going to have it all covered for you for the rest of the year. You got to think we're going to see some changes. We're going to see some transfers. We're going to see a lot of what was I going to say? Portals. Transfer portals coming in, transfer going out. It's going to be happening, folks. It's about to get heated up. I hope you are all signed up for Auburn Live on 3. If you're not a member right now, it's a great opportunity. 50% off of an annual subscription. You cannot beat it. It's like a cute baby. We are going to, as we do on the Call-In Show, let you guys dictate our topics of conversation. A lot of questions going on right now. A lot of curious minds. To help me dig through it all, unpack it all, are Cole Pinkston, Keith Niebuhr, Jhead, and there's Zach in the back. Summers. I think he's Zach in the back somewhere. So, fellas, to preface the show, Auburn went to Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. Complete opposite of what we've been used to. They had a slow start, got down 21-0, chipped away, came back, had some momentum, let it go, ended up losing 48-34. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Yes. 48-34. Some interesting. Tank rushed for 179, I think.
Yes.
The turnover still killed Auburn. Some dumb mistakes. Overall thoughts, Cole Pinkston.
Well, you have to be excited about the running game and how that finally got going. And I just put up an article on that about an hour ago, just talking about the different things they did, changed up some scheme. Offensive line looked a little bit better. Of course, Ole Miss's front is not quite as good as what they've seen maybe before, but not terrible. Not as bad as they have been before. I think even J.J. Pegues was a big upgrade for them because he had a pretty good game too. But, yeah, offense, look, they're not quitting. They're not quitting. And that's number one right now. With so much of this drama going on, you just got to be glad that they're not quitting like that. They're not going to go down without a fight, and that's a good thing.
Keith, your takeaways from the game Saturday.
Yeah, sorry, working out on the pool.
Hey!
We just put this thing in. It's smaller than what I'm used to, but
yeah.
Hey, Luigi, no, I want the plants over there. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Here's the thing. In all seriousness, we're giving them a lot of credit now for playing close, for not giving up, and that's fine. But again, people mentioned this on the board. This isn't moral victory U. This is Auburn U, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so on the one hand, you're proud that they didn't quit, that especially during that game, they fought back into that game. On the other hand, there's still some real issues, and now the defense is getting more and more thin. And, they got a job to do. The players do too, right? So when we say that they don't quit, I'm not knocking you, Cole. I was saying the same thing, and then I had this epiphany. They're on full scholarship. They get cost of attendance check, 10, 12 grand a year. Some of them have some great NIL deals. You live in the life of being a football player. A lot of hard work goes into it, and you're sacrificing your body. So you're taking the good with the bad there, really sacrificing their bodies, and that should never be overlooked. But they have a job to do, and I expect them to compete, and so should season ticket holders, so should their fellow students, because of all the things that the benefits they get. So anyway, I hate to be harsh in that way. I love all those players. We've known them all since their recruitments, but to me, they're doing what they should do. And I'm not surprised that they're doing it, because these are all guys that were fighters as recruits. We know them all. This doesn't, so I'm sort of conflicted here, but it was a disappointing, again, another game where you felt like a few plays here or there, and maybe the outcome could have been different. I know there was a couple calls that went against Auburn, but Lane Kiffin went for fourth down that Auburn's. There was some. It goes both ways. It goes both ways. But that was a game where I thought Auburn. I think I picked Ole Miss to win by 10, right? So I felt like Auburn had a shot. I felt like they had a shot, and now I don't see a lot of shots left on the schedule. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I will say, the team's psyche Although the first quarter didn't look like it, but the team psyche, they're still hanging in there now. But this is one more loss now. So does that bring the edge down just a little bit that next week? We don't know.
Well, got a couple of weeks to think about it. Auburn will be off this week. Jhead, from a fan's perspective, your thoughts on the Ole Miss game?
So I think you always want to kind of be balanced in your argument as far as that's concerned, and there were positives and negatives. So let's start with the positive. And there were 3 coaching decisions / moments that I really thought were good, specifically from the offensive side. Number 1, Cole tapped into it. The change in personnel of including Jeremiah Wright on the offensive line. I thought you finally found an interior there that could move guys off the ball. And you saw that. Now, granted, Ole Miss plays a 3-2-6 with a 3-man front, so it's a little bit easier there. But I really liked what we did formationally speaking and kind of, like you said, a change, including some more gap scheme run. You saw specifically some counter plays in there that we were able to tap into. The next one, when they benched Robbie Ashford after that interception, I thought putting him on the bench and letting him know that's unacceptable. You know what I mean? If you're going to be the quarterback at Auburn, you got to play better than that. He went over the sideline. He had to compose himself, came back in, played significantly better after that. Not lights out, but significantly better. And then last but not least, like you said, the tweaks that they made to get Tank more included into the offense, we have sorely needed that. If this offense is going to be successful at all, you have got to get around 200 yards of rushing in each and every game. That's just where we are as an offense. We don't have the playmakers that we need in the passing game. In the negative, our run fits were atrocious again this week. And look, Lane Kiffin is the best play caller in the entire SEC. I don't think that's even questionable at this point. But there's no way that Auburn should ever give up 426 or 450 yards of rushing in one game. It shouldn't happen. And those 2 backs are special, but they're not that kind of special. And so, like Keith said, this is kind of where we're getting at. When you get north of 60 plays, and we what did we call, 80 plays that they got off against us this past week? Maybe 80 plus.
Yeah, it was around 80, yeah.
That's way too many for us. We didn't get off the field quick enough on 4th down or 3rd down. We did have some costly penalties and obviously the turnovers. If you don't have 4 turnovers in that game, our defense isn't on the field for 80-plus snaps. Yeah. We've got to figure out a way to cut down the turnover margin. It hasn't happened yet. If we could have gotten a clean game, I truly believe that would have come down to a last possession. But we didn't get a clean game, and that gave them some possessions that they needed. In fact, that spotted them 14 points to start the game. I mean, they were out 14-0 on short fields before we could even get ourselves turned around. So
that was an interesting point you made about Ashford. I never thought of that. I mean, to cut you off, I hope, Jeff. I didn't realize, I was thinking, I was reading all the tweets. I do these Twitter reactions. And when Ashford was benched, everybody was the tweets that I saw were, oh, come on, what are they doing? 2 QB system again? What are they? And sometimes there is a method to the madness and just calming a guy down and having him take a deep breath. And, he's a very emotional player out there, as we saw, obviously, in that heated little war of the words with Tank on the sidelines. But, yeah. Hey, that's okay.
Yeah, that's a good thing with your quarterback sometimes.
I agree. That's something that didn't happen. Bo is an equally emotional player. I think we all know that. And it would have benefited Bo, in my opinion, had he been pulled every now and again and said, look, get control of yourself. You can't play this way and expect to stay on the field. Figure out a way to get it under control, and you can come back in. And that's what they did with Robbie. And I felt like it set the tone for the rest of the game of, okay, this is not acceptable. I have to play above what I'm playing right now.
Cole, where are you?
I'm at an undisclosed location. Unlike Keith's Billy Madison pool back there.
Keith's at his second home in the Maldives.
Yeah.
No, I'm at my in-laws. They live on the river, so.
Oh.
They have.
I bet they're just so thrilled to have you there.
They love it, man. We're gonna have dinner after this. They paid for it. It's all good.
Oh. All right. Hey, Zach, jump in here if we get a call. JP's coming in. Oh, there was a question from the corner as well. How do you guys see this class? JP wants to know, how do you see this class playing out with a coaching change? Man, it's just so impossible to know that kind of stuff. Do we miss on some guys like Bain that we were trending for? I mean, it's a great question.
It is.
It is. I just don't know if it's possible to answer.
Nothing is more important than keeping your family safe. And
Keith,
Congress
you got to turn the back channels off, big dog.
What I'm trying to do is check the show out so I can check the viewers out and see what's trending and all that. But there's this political ad in front of our.
You got to mute the YouTube page.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, JP, I'm gonna give you my. That's it. Trust me, that's a fantastic question. I wish I knew the answer to it. I know Ruben Bain loves Auburn. I know he loves Rock Bellantoni. Would Rock Bellantoni being gone change his recruitment? I really don't know. I mean, it's not like I'm going to call Ruben Bain and go, "Hey, man, if Rock wasn't there," I mean, it's just not my place. So everything is conjecture at this point. It would be shooting shit in the wind, and I don't want to. Again, it's a great question. I don't know how to properly answer that, if it can be properly answered.
I got one thought, Jay Lee.
Okay.
And I definitely want to hear Cole and Keith on this, because this is something that we may very much have to deal with. It's going to tell us two things. One, how strong is our NIL presence? I firmly believe that,
There you go.
because that's going to determine certain kids and whether or not I think they stay in this class, and or whether you entice them to join this class right now, given everything that's going on. Number two, how much do we leverage the transfer portal? And I think we're going to have to leverage it a pretty good bit, but there are coaches now, and you're hearing whispers of it, specifically Mel Tucker at Michigan State, where they feel as though they may have invested too heavily in the portal, and that's hurt them from a team chemistry standpoint, which goes to kind of some of their production or lack thereof this season. So contingent on who your next head coach is, do they believe in leveraging the portal? Or do they want to go an old school route and build a class of high school and JUCO prospects? How they attack that, that's going to be really interesting to see going forward.
Yeah, Cole, go ahead, and then I'll go.
I guess my thought on it would be, you got a few guys committed right now that seem like they could be pretty good players that are doing well right now. Try to keep those guys with NIL. Do the best you can with NIL as a school, as a brand, trying to bring in guys that you want. And obviously you're probably, much to many people's dismay, you're probably not going to have a new coach or a resolution before the early signing period. So, there's probably some good players to scoop up after that. You got to make sure you find them and then get as much as you possibly can under the circumstances, then hit the portal hard when you get a new coach or when there is a resolution.
Well, I do think there's going to be a resolution before the early signing period. I think it's going to be a week or two before, and you may see the signing class shrink. It may not go up for December. It may go backwards, and that's okay, because a new coach has to have the authority to pick and choose who he wants. And I know people. We've talked to some recruits that have said, "Hey, Auburn said I got a scholarship no matter what." And while that's probably true, a coach may say, "Hey, you have it." If there's a new coach, pending a change. I always have to preface that. If there's a change and you got a new coach, he may say, "Well, you still have that opportunity, but we think you probably would be better off looking at other schools. We think you may fit other systems better than ours," and all that stuff. New assistants would have guys that they would want and have built relationships with. Now, Ruben Bain's an interesting one, and Jeffrey and me have held off on putting, and you too, Cole, have held off on putting in a pick for multitude of things going on. One, this, and also two, sure enough, he visited FSU this weekend, and I've heard nothing but positives about that trip. He's a young guy that seems to say a lot of good things to a lot of different people, but I'm not so worried about the class. I'm really not, because while it's not a bad class of 11 kids right now, I wouldn't say, at least on the surface, there's not a difference makers just don't jump out at you, right? Some developmental guys, some good solid players, but I don't know. It's going to really be up at the discretion. If there's a change, it's going to be at the discretion of the new staff, quite frankly. Here's
another thing to really keep in mind on these guys is that even if Harsin is let go, let's say November the 27th, at the latest, right, is what we're thinking, right? And even if they do hire a head coach within the first 2 weeks of December, dude, he's not going to be able to put his staff together until after early signing day, right? So these coaches these assistant, Rock Bellantoni is going to be employed at Auburn on December the 21st, more than likely. because other assistant coaches are going to want their guys are going to want them to stay there until that signing class is done, and then they're gonna dip out.
Correct.
So you got to think Cadillac, Rock Bellantoni, Zach, all these cats are going to be employed at Auburn, and they are. It's not like they're out when Harsin is out. I'm sure some of his boy guys will. I guess it'd be understood that they're not going to be around. I think Zach will hope he stays. I think Rock hope he gets kept. I think Cadillac will hope he gets kept. So knowing that new head coach, same assistants come December the 21st, and the kids are going to be saying, "Coach, are you going to be there?" I don't know. It's going to be tricky, but that I would imagine if they don't, I have to imagine that the assistant coaches that are here now will be here on December the 21st.
I think the large majority will.
Yeah. And as long as they're employed, if you're Rock Bellantoni and maybe you don't know your future, well, you tell that to the young guys, but you say you're still being paid by Auburn, okay? So you sell the school, you sell the program itself. You say, hey, I know this guy who got the job. I don't know whether he's going to keep me or not, but here's why you should still consider Auburn. These guys don't just quit working. Yeah, and here's why. That'll ruin their reputation. I mean,
and any chance of being retained.
That's right. They got a lot on the line. Chance of being retained, chance of getting a job a good job somewhere else. Because when you lose a job at a school like Auburn, I mean, you're talking about a historic top 15 program. Sometimes there's nowhere to go but down, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? So they don't want to go down. They don't want to go down that far, that's for sure. So they're going to work hard up until the minute that they're no longer employed. That's kind of standard operating procedure for these guys. And knowing these guys, and we all know some of these guys, they don't seem like guys that are going to mail it in completely, okay? I wouldn't worry about that. The question is, what do you sell? So, you sell the school. All the fans listening, you sell that great school that you attended, the great stadium that you've been going to for years and years and years, the great atmosphere that you've experienced for all those great games at Jordan-Hare Stadium, the academic programs, the flight school, the flight program, the business school, and all that stuff that makes Auburn so wonderful. You continue to sell that, the new facility. And then, hey, I don't know who they're going to hire as your position coach, but look at all this stuff that you've got, that you're going to have here, this incredible support structure, incredible system, facilities, everything. And then also, that Auburn historically hires guys that win. Now, sometimes it works out more than others, but historically, every few years, Auburn's in that conversation for something big, right? SEC title or more. So there's still a lot to sell, even a transitional period. It's Auburn. Like we always say, it is Auburn. They're not having to sell University of New Hampshire, okay? This is Auburn.
Yeah.
Colt, Auburn.
Go ahead, Jeffrey.
AU Tiger blogging wants to know who's got a better defensive line, Ole Miss or Arky. Have you watched these guys?
I haven't given the attention to Arkansas yet, but I have watched them play, and to me, Ole Miss's pass rush has been really good, and Auburn kind of kept that at bay, but they didn't throw the ball a lot, so Arkansas's pass rush is pretty good too. And Drew Sanders, who's the Alabama transfer, leads the SEC in sacks right now, I believe, at 6.5 or 7. So they got a few dudes that can, be game changers, and that's really not good for an offensive line that's trying to come together.
I can jump in on that. I've scouted Arkansas a pretty good bit. Cole,
yeah,
they are not as good as they were on the defensive line as they were last year. They're missing John Ridgway badly as far as that's concerned. Now, you're right. Bumper Pool and Drew Sanders have been phenomenal, but
is that his name?
Yeah.
Bumper Pool, yeah.
That's his name. He's their starting Mike linebacker.
He's good, too.
Yeah, he's had to blitz those guys far more this year and be a little bit more exotic than he had to be in the past. So I think this is going to be a game where Tank has the ability to rush. Where we can get off again in the run game.
Yeah.
Because they also play a 3-man front. I think they play, a 3-3-5 stack, Cole, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and I should have added today when I was doing the play breakdowns. I mean, Auburn, they knew they had to run the ball against that 3-man front. I mean, they had different things that they had planned for it, and it was good scheme, all that, and they took advantage of it. So that's the front you want to see if you're Auburn right now, 3-man front.
I agree. So you got 2 weeks in a row, I think, of getting healthy in the run game that you can do. But the question is, can we take advantage when we need to? That's what you just don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll tell you what, those coordinators at Arkansas have been getting some heat the last few weeks.
Yeah, Kendall Browse, yeah.
Yeah.
Have gotten
of all people.
Mariota,
He,
right?
he was the
Mariota,
he was the savior.
Now,
Hey, before we get any deeper, I want to my shirt. Is anybody wearing their shirts? Nobody's
No,
wearing their shirts.
man.
Come on, man.
It
God
runs
bless
in the
America.
wash, bro.
I hear you. Cole's outside. It's 70 degrees. He's got a sweatshirt on. Hey, if you're looking for a home in Auburn, Opelika area, Lee County, Alabama, give Jessica Andrews with eXp Realty a call, 334-704-4442. Residential investment properties. She's on fire right now, closing deals as we speak. Give her a call. Keep her busy, man. It gives me more time to do these shows. Jessica Andrews Realty, eXp Realty, 334-704. See, she's texting me right now. 334-704-4442. Give her a call so she can stop texting me, and I can continue with the show.
The more work she gets, the kind of a breather she gets from Jeffrey, right? I mean,
Right. And the higher my chances are of going back to Montana sometime soon.
Hey, I hear you.
Nice.
Closing deals and them plane tickets. Woo! Great day in the morning.
No, man.
Lawrence Robinson wants to know, have we had a 0 turnover game yet? Shit. Have you had a -2 turnover game yet? I mean, seriously, there's been multiple turnovers in every game this year. If I'm just guessing.
You're right.
Multiple.
Yeah, 2 picks against Mercer, right?
Yep.
2 picks against San Jose State and a fumble, I think.
Yep.
Penn State, multiple interceptions.
4.
Missouri. What did we do against Missouri?
Lost the turnover battle because you haven't won a turnover battle yet. So you can't win. You can't win the turnover.
I thought we went. Yeah, I thought we went 2-2. I thought we had two turnovers.
You know what? You may be right. I think we came on after that show and was like, "Hey, guess what? You didn't turn the ball over, or you won the turnover, and you actually won."
Right. So I think that's the only game where we're in the plus margin. And then obviously LSU, 3 turnovers because you had the interception late and the 2 strip sacks.
Keith looks like Alejandro is hot. He's about to come put some sunblock on you, Keith.
Needless to say, one game where we either push.
Where do you guys see my bikini bottoms? You're gonna love it.
Oh, hey.
Me.
Something French cut, we'll say.
Hey, this is what I was going to say earlier. I want to apologize to everybody. The show is 6:30, man. I got confused this week. I'm trying to get my deer stands up and ready. I've been drinking this Mike's Hard cranberry lemonade. Man, that stuff's strong, son. Woo!
Step down from Zima.
I can't handle that. I had 2 of them. I was crawling back to the shed. But yes, from now on, everybody listening up, we're going to be at 6:30 Central Time. That gives me plenty of time to get in from the woods, get my deer cleaned, and get on.
There you go.
So 6:30 from now on. I apologize if anybody's expecting that tonight. We got started a little early because of my hiccup. So just wanted to throw that out there. Brad K. Hughes, not to be confused with Brad L. Hughes. Is there a world that Coach Harsin stays and the coordinators are replaced? If there might be a world, but it's not this one. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I'll affirm there, Jeffrey.
Okay. I think he had his shot this past year, and he elevated both his guys or his he saw at least.
Let's say hypothetically, if he's retained.
Yeah.
No, because if he's retained, you're already on your 3rd offensive coordinator, right? Austin Davis was
4.
Wasn't there very long, right? With Bobo, Austin Davis.
Keep forgetting about that.
Yeah. And
I don't think he ever got to Auburn.
And you're on
Did
your
he?
second. He did.
Did he?
You're on your 2nd defensive coordinator. And so you'd be on your 4th offensive coordinator, and you'd be on your 3rd defensive coordinator going.
I forgot about Mason. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not. So no, it provided Harsin was to stay. That's not. I don't think that's even a realistic. I mean, you got to pay those guys contracts too. I don't know. Are they 2-year deals? I don't remember what those guys.
Most coordinators are.
Okay, but Schmedding didn't become coordinator until after year 1, and Kiesau didn't become coordinator until this year. So when did their contracts start? You know what I mean? So there's all kinds of things. Then you'd be starting from scratch all over again on both sides of the ball. I mean, no. That should be my answer, no.
Who is going to, in this climate, come in with Coach Harson's seat being as hot as it is? I mean, let's be honest here. That's going to stake their reputation to come to Auburn without a major payday.
They could probably get Scott Loeffler after he's fired, or Rush Probst. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's that's the
Brian Van Gorder from Gulf Shores High School.
Yeah. So if you look, if for some reason Auburn was to keep Harsin, we don't think it's going to happen. If they were, just roll with what you got at this point.
Yeah.
And you improve and all that stuff. But
Dustin Smith coming in with a good question here. Drew Fabianich, the general manager at Auburn, just hired 2 months ago.
Yes.
Do you think he stays if Harsin is out?
Oof.
I'll go.
Hey, listen, I was more confident a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not saying nothing's changed. My opinion's changed. What I found out is Fabianich is on a 1-year deal. They gave him a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
So he is employed. He is contracted with Auburn until, I guess, the end of July.
And my answer was going to be, Jeffrey, it all depends on the next head coach. And if they're a sitting head coach right now, they probably have their own player personnel guy that they want to bring in, would be my guess. If you're hiring a coordinator or a G5 guy, I think that opens the door some to retention, specifically as to the work that he's done in this class. So it really depends on who you hire, what their relationship is. Do they hit it off instantaneously? Because I think we saw with Ryan Treshelle last year, he got retained by Harsin when he was hired in 2020.
Yeah.
So the potential is there, but I don't know that anything that happened in the Harsin administration is the precedent that you want. I mean, necessarily moving forward. I'm not exactly sure. Keith, Jeffrey, Cole, you guys have had a little bit more experience with this than me. So
Cole,
what do you guys think?
Yeah, you can go, Cole, if you want.
I think that he is. I think that he will be retained because.
Let's preface this by saying this is just our opinions. I don't think anybody is talking to anybody.
Yeah, no. I'm not speaking in absolutes here. Just my opinion.
Right.
I think he's retained. I think that he was somebody that maybe people at Auburn wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Even if Brian Harsin wanted him too, I think people at Auburn wanted him to join and bring a different NFL perspective in. So I think, especially if the Auburn people in charge get their way with a coaching hire, I don't think that he goes anywhere. That's just where my opinion is.
Well, again, I think Jhead is correct. The head coach is going to want almost complete autonomy to.
Right.
I think that's the right word. And so there's a couple issues here, and I don't know the structure at Auburn right now behind the scenes, but a head coach may say, a new coach may come in and say, all offers go through me, okay, which is, I believe, what this guy did. The current coach, Brian Harsin, I believe there was some of that, some with Gus too. Or he may say, I'm not going to micromanage guys. I'm going to hire position guys. My position coaches and coordinators, they're going to make the decision. So what I don't know is Drew Fabianich the guy making the calls now, or does he just make suggestions? That's what we don't know. Jeffrey, we should have asked him what the internal structure was. He may not want to answer that anyway. So there's some dynamics in play here. Whatever the internal structure is right now, it might not be copacetic with a new head coach. We don't know that. It may be great. They may already know each other. Who knows, right? You just don't know. It's hard to really say. It's hard to really say.
The only thing I could say is, do I think Auburn should retain him or whoever? Personally, yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But what if the head coach doesn't like him? What if he, So I could see it, but
what if the head coach was cut by the Cowboys? The next head coach was cut by the Cowboys when Fabianich was on the staff. You don't know. There's so many other variables out there. But we do know that a lot of people in the football world know other guys in the football world, and who knows, right? He's a likable guy. He's personable. He's sharp. And here's something we hadn't thought of. Maybe, and he probably likes what he's doing now, but maybe head coach, a new head coach has his own guy to do that, but says, I like this guy. I'm hearing so many good things about him. Let's create a position for him. We got to keep this guy.
That's what Auburn did, right?
Too.
Yep. Auburn's never had a general manager before.
No. First time.
No, I think we talked about that sort of being a new type of deal with coaching staffs.
Kind of the new thing in college football.
Yeah.
It is.
these staffs are getting bigger and bigger, and quite frankly, we do interviews with all these recruits, and they're mentioning off the field staff as much as they're mentioning the coaches now.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that's a good thing, and I'm not knocking the field guys. I think what's happening is that a lot of, and I'm not speaking strictly with Auburn, by the way. We interview kids talking about multiple schools, but it makes you wonder. I mean, are the position coaches not doing as much as they used to do? It's
right.
I'm just throwing that out there. You know.
Hey, Cole, real quick, can you answer Scott Fitzbeagle right here before we get to the phone? Zach, you got us a call on hold?
Yeah, we got one caller.
Okay.
I script every game, and in my opinion, I'm probably pretty close to getting those play calls right from a opposing team standpoint. Like if I'm watching film and I see the play, I know what the scheme is at least. I think they have done zone scheme up until the Georgia game, and they ran a couple counters. And then this game, Ole Miss brought 4, 5, 6 counters, toss sweep, had some other things there that were different than zone scheme. So, yes, they just sort of started, incorporating that. And it might have something to do with the way Ole Miss ran their defense too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that what you got for us, Big Dog?
3122. You're live. Who are we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Gracie from Birmingham, Alabama. Do you think Tank will come back, and do you think Jeff Grimes will be our head coach?
Do you think Tank will come back? Gracie from Birmingham, is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, Gracie. How old are you?
I'm 21.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
All right. Gracie from Birmingham wants to know, do you think Tank comes back? Do you think Jeff Grimes will be the new head coach? Keith, you look emphatic about an answer here.
I don't think Tank's coming. I mean, at this point, it's why? Why would he? To come back and maybe boost your draft stock by a round. I mean, it's not. I just don't. He's going to be ready to go. You know what I mean? I don't. I'd be shocked. Maybe, and that's without even talking to him. But I've known the kid since he was 16, so I'd be pretty surprised if he stayed.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was regretting that he stayed.
I didn't say that.
Hey, but I will say this, Tank. I don't know what it is about Ole Miss, but that dude owns Ole Miss.
He does.
Probably has something to do with Ole Miss, to be honest with you. But
Gracie wants to know Jeff Grimes. Justin Hokanson, our ace team reporter, continues to have Jeff Grimes and his top two, along with Hugh Freeze, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes.
So I think it's and Justin says that if Auburn were to hire John Hartwell, that Jeff Grimes would be even more likely to be named Auburn's new head coach if and when that position becomes available. So, Gracie, I would say there's according to the guy who knows more than me, Justin Hokanson, he seems to think there's a very good chance that Grimes is named head coach should John Hartwell become president, which he thinks both are the leaders in the clubhouse. Jhead?
I think it's really hard to speculate without knowing the AD. Jeffrey, that's the hardest piece of the puzzle right now. I mean, I think we all know that there's going to be probably an eventual parting of ways with Coach Harsin. When, who knows? But that AD piece is going to be key here. If it is Hartwell, then I agree with Justin wholeheartedly. I do think he's still the leader in the clubhouse from everything that I've heard to this point. But there's always something in me that's skeptical. Because when you hear names so prominently, it feels like there's always a surprise when it comes to Auburn as to who the actual pick is going to be.
You think you think it's a potential diversion? Is that what you're?
I think they're smoke screening something 100%.
Absolutely. Keith does too.
I'm probably wrong though. So.
No, I don't think you are, Keith. That's my gut. Is that Auburn's smoke screening something when it comes to AD? That Hartwell's name's been out there too long at this point for him to be the play right now. I do know that our president is trying to be extremely thorough. They're trying to find somebody that meshes with the people that are in and around our program that hold influence, whether they be, top-level administrators, power boosters, other people that need to interact with this person. So they're trying to make sure that they get the absolute right fit, and it may be John Hartwell. And I have thought for over a year now, because I was told by somebody that would know that he was definitely going to be somebody to watch, but it feels like he was like his name was out there too quickly. there's something about me that makes me think that that's not going to be the play. And then if that's not the hire, then all bets are off as far as who the head coach could be should we make a move.
Also, though, if you, I want Jeffrey, I'm sorry. If Hartwell is the pick, and granted he's from Alabama and all that, right? Isn't he?
Troy, I think.
So people say, okay, then. So you would you hire this guy and immediately hand them the keys to the Lamborghini, and him alone would make a football hire?
Not at all.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure of. I was,
That's good.
And I'm talking about instantaneous hire.
Yeah.
Because his ass has got, whoever it is, has got 3 to 4 weeks to make a hire, right?
Yeah.
Well,
everybody that's the guy.
Depending on when they make a move, like should we make a move with Coach Harsin? It would all depend on when they decide to do that as to how much time you've got. And then is Auburn going to do what we typically do, Jeffrey? And you know this as well as I do. Are they going to hire Parker Executive to be a search firm to vet all these various people? Or are they going to say, you know what, the president, the AD, and a couple of influential boosters are going to make this decision, and we already know what direction we're going in? I tend to believe we're going to do the search firm thing because that's what we've always done. But underneath
since 03.
Yeah.
Didn't that become a prerequisite, a mandatory back then when Auburn was after Jetgate? Was that not?
So I believe after Tuberville got hired, and they smoke screened that one the entire way. I mean, poor Bill Oliver. But after Tubbs got hired and they, like you said, I think leadership decided they were going to go search committee route. And that was the situation with Chiswick, Malzahn, and even with Harsin this past time. So I don't know that they're going to break from that trend. And granted, Jay Gouge was the president for each and every one of those searches. So maybe it's different with President Roberts. I'm not exactly sure.
Hey, I would like to say, Gracie, great call. And if I'm not mistaken, you are the first female, so you will be inducted into the Auburn Live Call-In Show Hall of Fame.
One more question, guys. Are you surprised that Harsin hasn't been fired yet?
I'm not surprised, no.
No, I'm not either.
I think the administration, and then I want to hear Keith on this for sure, wants to give the appearance of being fair to Coach Harsin. You know what I mean? That they are giving him ample opportunity to be in games where he has the chance to be successful. Ole Miss was the start of a stretch of games that are winnable up until Western Kentucky, in my honest opinion. Now, A&M's getting better each and every week, but as good as Mississippi State has looked at times, you saw what happened when they were on the road to Kentucky. They looked very human. So I think it's a very Jekyll and Hyde thing with Mike Leach. There's not one of these games I think that Auburn is completely out of. So this is a stretch to me that I think they're wanting to give him the opportunity to play out. And also, if you're in the business of hiring a coach, don't you want to make it look like, okay, we didn't just run this guy out, that we gave him that we gave him a chance, whether it's perceived or, whether it's factual or not, you tried to give him an opportunity to win games. Because right now in our last 12 games, we've won 3 out of 12. I don't think anybody can fault you for parting of ways when you're on you've won 3 out of 12 games.
Yeah, you're right. I
Thanks
think that's good.
for taking my call.
Thank you, Gracie. We really appreciate it.
Maybe they thought that the ensuing chaos that would happen wouldn't be worth it. He's the coach. You're paying him a lot of money.
Finish the job.
Let him do it. And he's not embarrassing the school. He's not acting like a complete jerk. He's not having temper tantrums. Obviously the product isn't what you would be super proud of. But, he's not – he didn't dress as Darth Vader at a press conference. He didn't. So he's not – look, if you know it's inevitable and if it's definitely happening at the end of the season, yeah, I probably would have done it by now, me personally. Okay, just for both sides. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, again, like I said, the team is fairly competitive still. They're playing hard. And maybe they just figure there's nothing to lose now. There's nothing.
I could make a case for both sides. I really could.
Yeah.
So which is why I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, whatever they decide is fine. Although, again, the risk would have been if you want to get rid of a guy. Remember what happened when people tried to get rid of him earlier this year? the story got out.
Yep.
I don't know which side leaked it. I think I know which side. The side that needed that moral support, right? And so it's not. So in other words, if you don't get rid of them at the low point, they could have easily won the other day, guys.
Yeah.
And Arkansas looks beatable, and A&M maybe. And next thing you know, you're going into the Bama game with 7 wins, and all of a sudden people say, "Hey, they're looking better. Maybe they can turn this thing around." So if you know what I'm saying? So there is that danger of prolonging it. There could be a groundswell of support for a guy that people may think is getting a raw deal. But on the other hand, it just seems like for 90% of the fan base, there was no coming back after that Penn State game either way.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm torn like you are, Jeffrey. You know,
Which you know, again, I can make a case
for both sides. What's best for
Yeah.
both sides.
Yeah, I completely agree. Whatever's best for those guys.
Him too, by the way. I mean, you know.
And from a fan perspective, what I can say is I know that there are a lot of fans that just want to go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off and get this done. But to me, it's really not – I know that there's this – and we talk about recruiting all the time and how invaluable it would be to have a coach in place sooner rather than later. But to me, it's getting the coach part right, okay? This reminds me of Ole Miss when they parted ways with Matt Luke a couple years back. I think they fired him on December the 1st after that Egg Bowl fiasco where the kid was like peeing in the end zone or whatever it was.
One-time Auburn target, by the way.
You know what I mean? Right.
Who was it?
Elijah
Moore.
Plays for the Jets now, I think. Right?
Yeah.
He sure does.
But
He had a great hike too, didn't he? He did a fantastic dog hike. Oh, it was
beautiful. But
10 out of 10, son.
Fired Matt Luke on December 1st. Guess what? They got the coach right, and they were competitive the next year, and Kiffin's had them competitive and improving ever since. So I know we all get carried away with the talent acquisition piece. It's if we part ways with Coach Harsin, it's getting the coach part right, and everything else will fall into place.
Just real quick, man. These last couple of weeks have been away games, so I've watched them on television because I don't travel. Is it me or it seems like they go to Harsin every play. Like you get his. Is that something that's been going on all year?
I tell you what, I realized
they showed him 10 times to Lane Kiffin 1, no doubt about it.
Well, I don't know if it's getting to watch a full Alabama game. They put it on Nick Saban all the time.
Okay, all right,
And I wonder if it's because they know there's going to be a reaction after certain plays, and they know Brian Harsin's frustrated. So let's get it on this guy. I mean, they got Lane Kiffin on celebrations and things like that. They got him on that.
I don't think those cameras make Harsin look bad at all. I
don't either. Yeah,
no. Look, I don't really know. I've talked to the guy twice. I mean, am I a fan of some of the things that they've done? No. Have I heard other things that I wasn't a fan of? Sure. I mean, he was nice to me when we talked. I don't have anything against the guy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So when
I don't ever see him animated.
No, he's poised. You know, Ashford, all the screw ups, and Robbie does a lot of good things. By the way, remember I said last week I was so proud of just impressed with Robbie's demeanor, and even through all the mess ups, he just everything he does is 100%. But Brian Harsin just he goes over, he calmly walks over to Robbie. Okay, this is what I want you to. After bad plays, he's not screaming at him, he's not throwing things. I mean, he gets mad once in a while, but he's not. It builds up to that madness when he gets ticked. It's not just. Yeah. He's always ticked. You know what I'm saying? He's
a full-blown Will Muschamp.
Yeah.
He's pretty
correct.
He's pretty collected. I mean,
and the funny thing, Will's kind of like McEnroe, John, the old tennis player. He used to. I don't know if he ever played Pete Sanchez. He was the era before. But,
John McIntosh, yeah.
I know some of you know Will. Jeffrey, I know you do. Will Muschamp is one of the greatest dudes you'll ever meet. Man.
Awesome.
And then you see him on the sideline, you're like, what in the God? I mean, his friends, like his true friends, we're just acquaintances. His true friends must give him hell for all those antics. But Harson's poised. He may, he's probably a good fit somewhere. I
agree.
And I think, and I've said all along, I always thought Colorado, since that opened, would be the best fit of all of them. Not Arizona State at all. I don't see that one at all.
All right, Zach, keep us rolling, Zach.
Got some callers now.
Everybody's tuned in after I told them it's 6:30. Damn it, my bad.
5255, you're live. Where you calling from? Who we talking to?
What's up, guys? This is Jason from Atlanta.
What's up,
And
Jason?
I talked about it a little bit ago, but I'd want to hear some more details about the talent acquisition piece and the timeline of potentially getting rid of Harsin. A lot of what I read is related to, the benefits of having a coach in place sooner rather than later, being able to take advantage of the portal when it opens up after championship week, and then having 3 to 4 weeks before December signing day. And I would just like to hear about, how important and valuable is that really? Is it the kind of thing where we really damage our chances of like refilling the offensive line, maybe get another quarterback if our new regime is not in place and ready to go come early December?
I don't think there, Jason. I said it earlier. I don't think there is a scenario where this new staff is in place by early December, because the guys that you want to hire from other staffs are going to stick with their school until after early signing date. I think. Right? I mean, an Alabama assistant's not going to leave Alabama, but Nick Saban's not. It's just not going to happen. The head coach might be in.
Maybe the head coach and a couple other guys.
Yeah.
Probably your coordinators. That's about it. I think you could probably make some coordinator hires early on.
There you go.
But the actual position coaches, like you said, Jeffrey, you're going to have a hard time. Those guys are all under contract and being paid. And we saw this with Damian Craig a few years back, where he stayed employed with Auburn through signing day, and then the day after he was going to LSU.
Jetted out, yep.
Here's the thing, guys. They only, like I said earlier, they only have 11 commitments to begin with. Now, granted, they'd have more by then, but again, you might have to take your medicine and just say we're gonna cut some guys, we're gonna lose some guys. Maybe Auburn only signs 8 to 10 guys that early period. That's fine. There'll be plenty of good guys left over. There will be. You'll still have JUCO guys. You'll have guys that are right now just now starting to get offers. Okay, there's late developers, and then you have the portal. I don't think it's. I think that as long as you've got somebody in place a week before the early signing period, I think you're fine, man. I really do. Because again, it'd be one thing if this class had 17 commitments and two of them are 5 stars. And now, may it hurt you with Quay Russaw and James Smith, and it maybe. Well, we're going to find out how strong On to Victory is, probably, right?
Yeah.
The Auburn Collective. So but there's no guarantees you're going to get those guys anyway. The main thing is to find the right person. If you make this change, to find the right person, and you might have to take a step or two backwards the first couple months. But the goal, that's how it goes sometimes. There's no perfect way to do this.
Cole, go ahead. I want to hear your thoughts, and then I got a thought here.
Well, real quick, there's a post on our board right now in the corner. Somebody posted a Baylor fans maybe quote or perspective, and said that if Jeff Grimes were the guy, he would more than likely bring over the offensive line coach, who supposedly is somebody they really like over there. So maybe that, if Jeff Grimes were the hire, he'd have a couple guys in mind and could get them in. And just a scenario. I'm not sure how it would work yet. I really don't know.
This is, to me, it's not the recruiting, Jason, that's going to be the bigger issue. It's getting a head coach in place to keep kids on your roster, because I do think the retention is going to be a massive issue, because when you have a coaching change, you have guys that are bought into that coach, and you have guys that are bought into that culture. And with a new coach coming in, you need somebody in place as soon as you can to have conversations with kids that are thinking about entering the portal, because you want to sell them on Auburn immediately.
And there are several.
Is going to be the bigger issue.
If there are guys you want. If they are guys you want. Tennessee,
right.
That stat, Heupel lost 35 guys in his first what?
Yeah, sure did.
And you know what? If it goes both ways. It goes both ways. There are kids that are going to be looking to leave, and there's a head coach that's going to come in, and he's already done that roster review while he's interviewing, and he's going to call a guy like a Mike Bobo that worked on the staff last year. Tell me about these kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he may come in and say, you got to go.
I agree.
So it works both ways. And now I would only say the encouraging thing for Auburn is, and I hate to say this, but there aren't too many guys. Now, if you lost everybody, that'd be one thing. But again, Auburn, a couple points. Auburn's a top 15 historic program, right? If you're leaving, where are you going to go? That's, unless you're really good, you're not going to go to a program with Auburn's prestige, right? So you're either going to be going to like an FIU to play more or
Jacksonville State.
yeah, what are your options? And then the other part of that is how many guys on the Auburn roster would be the death knell if they transferred out right now? I hate to say that. That's,
There's a couple of freshmen. There's a couple of freshmen right now that if things don't change, they're gone.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's nobody. I was asking it. Actually,
yeah, but I mean,
death nail, no. But Keontae Scott's a big one for me, Keith. If he decides he wants to jump in the portal, that's somebody that you want to retain.
Which he is a Harsin guy. I mean, he's a guy that Harsin brought in.
Exactly.
Yeah. He also could be a guy that could leave for something bigger than that too, right?
He could. I don't know that I don't know where he sits on draft boards right now, Keith. That would be that's
it's sort of a tweener. He kind of falls in between corner, safety, nickel.
Yeah, he does.
He could probably find his niche at nickel, I would think.
He's good. He reminds me of David Irons.
Doesn't he?
Yeah, man.
He's
yapping all the time.
Yeah. He don't chirp as well. He don't chirp. Hey, Jason, I think you had a part about the timeline real quick. We said last week that there were 3 windows of opportunity for Auburn to make a move. Today being the first one. And I'm to the point now where I'll be surprised if he's not around for the Alabama game. Today, Jhead mentioned Texas A&M, which is probably the second opportunity there. Just kind of finish out 2 games with the interim, give you a 2-week head start on the end of the season. I think that's your next opportunity. If it's not today, if it's not tomorrow, I feel like if it was going to be this week, it would be today.
Exactly.
Absolutely, and it didn't happen. And now I'm thinking, and Justin Hokanson wrote this today on the Auburn Live on 3, is that it's looking more and more likely, or we wouldn't be surprised to see him finish the Alabama game, part ways after that. But let me tell you, we said this before, but all the pros that people are mentioning of why we should be getting rid of the coach in midseason because of this, and this. You can go ahead and do this. It's going on, dude. It's going on. It's going on. Like, just because he's not, it's going on. There's a lot of back avenues here.
Yeah, you just go ahead and do the dog and pony show a little bit earlier, the open dog and pony show.
Right.
And coaches in the coach, they're great. They're like reporters, bro. They gossip like middle school. Okay, so if you think you're a candidate or know you're a candidate, you're already calling your buddies and saying, "Hey, by the way, if I ended up at this school, how would you feel about this position? Or you know anybody that could do this? Or
happy?
I want to spend my money here, so I'm going to need a linebackers coach that I don't pay as much to even things out, so I can get the coordinator for $2 million. Who could I, and that's what's going on. A lot of them, sure.
Yes.
I mean, we got
good stuff.
Us asking us what's going on. So.
Hey, Jason, good questions, man. We appreciate your call, and Zach, keep us rolling.
9278. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
What's going on, guys? It's Sparks from Atlanta.
What's up,
Sparks? The
Hey,
ATL is on.
Different approach. I know that we've kind of talked about offense ad nauseum. I've been really, really surprised by defense. I mean, we're historically bad this year. And I was giving it the benefit of the doubt as far as, defense wearing down because the offense is not good. But when you think about it, Kevin Steele had the same issue where we were 3-and-out with Gus the last couple of years, and we never looked like this. I mean, 450 yards rushing is absolutely embarrassing. And so I wanted to get, Jhead and Cole, your thoughts. Is it scheme? Is it the fact that our line, if you think about it, Kobe Wooden really should be playing an end position. He's too small to take on a double team. And then we got 2 rush ends that really – I love Derek Hall, but he's not the best at setting the edge. So, is it scheme? And obviously the linebacker play is abysmal. So how do we get to the point where our defense is historically bad?
Cole, I'll let you start and I'll clean up.
This year we're giving up 40+.
Well, I think you made a good point, Sparks, when you said Kobe Wooden should probably be playing 5 technique.
Yep.
I think he fits. I mean, if he goes to the NFL, that's probably what he does, right? Owen Papo, probably not a inside middle linebacker in the NFL either. And that's what he's doing right now. So I think, again, it goes right back to the roster acquisitions in the offseason. You just didn't get enough to plug in places where you needed help. You just didn't get enough. And that's where everything originates with people wanting Brian Harsin to be gone. And they don't trust that he can build the roster up where it needs to be. And defensively, it looked like there were some good pickups, but guys like Craig McDonald, Marquise Gilbert, who was a JUCO guy, I haven't seen him. I haven't even seen him play. Eugene Asante.
Jeffrey Imba.
Yeah, Imba's been out there just a little, but maybe not in the role we thought maybe he could play. And then Eugene Asante.
Not the number one JUCO.
Yeah.
Not as much as you would expect the number one JUCO guy coming in.
Marcus Robinson, he asked him to come out. He's a lawn gnome on the sideline.
Yep.
But
now, I actually saw him on the sidelines the other day.
To me, though, the roster has a lot to do with it, which Keith has said, for a while now. And then scheme-wise, I just think you're right. The linebackers are just slow playing things and just not overly physical. I think Wesley Steiner finally stepped up and played more physically this week, but he has trouble open field tackling. So, you got a problem there at the linebacker spot. Defensive line's not getting consistent push either. So that's kind of where they're at, in my opinion.
Good stuff, Sparks. We appreciate you, big dog.
Jhead, did you want to?
Oh, I'm sorry. I cut Jhead off.
Hey, you're good. You're good, Jeffrey. Cole pretty much hit it, but it is purely, to me, it's a personnel and it's a development situation where we do not have guys to plug holes that we even had last year. Obviously, Zacoby McClain was a huge loss off this past year's team. He was an absolute eraser.
Yeah.
Who was it?
Cover up.
Oh, it's Zacoby.
You could say the same for Smoke Monday and Roger McCreary. I mean,
jeez Louise.
I agree. And look, as far as the secondary is concerned, I have been impressed with some guys like Keontae Scott, with DJ James. We have made some good acquisitions there. But with what's happened to our defensive line since Derek Brown and Marlon Davidson have left, you just have not replaced those guys. And we've transitioned scheme. We have transitioned scheme to something that probably doesn't fit the personnel that we did have on the roster, and you haven't acquired guys of that caliber to replace their production to this point. Now, I do think that there are some good things with Wesley Steiner with what I've seen the last week. I think he's actually starting to develop some, and you have to work through the hiccups on guys like that. But Owen is so not suited for what they have him doing right now. I mean, he is not a Mike linebacker. And to be honest, he's probably best suited as a money or a nickel backer, you know what I mean, where you can utilize his speed in space. He's having a productive season, but most of that's coming down the field. You know what I mean? Where they have him attacking run fits and everything else is just – it's not set up for what he does well, but the personnel is not where we need it to be from a depth standpoint specifically. And you see that when we get north of 60 snaps, and that's why I've been hammering that analytic stat. When we get north of 60, it's jailbreak because you just don't have enough depth rotating through right now. Right. We're not playing enough guys. We're sticking with the frontline talent that we do have far too often, and it's going to cause – if you think we're bad right now, if we don't start to rotate and sub guys and get production out of that second tier, you're going to see a historically bad defense down the stretch because those guys are just going to be worn flat out.
So in 2020 on the defensive line, Auburn signed the JUCO Dre Butler.
Yeah.
Okay. They signed Zykevious Walker, which was a huge one. Everybody thought he was going to Georgia until about 2 hours.
Jay Hardy.
And Jay Hardy. And Walker's been injured. This is year 3. This would be
right.
Those guys' careers would normally, if they were legit guys, would be skyrocketing, right?
Right.
Yeah. Next year, you sign Marquise Robinson and Lee Hunter. Now, Marquise Robinson went in the portal and then was going in the portal and then didn't go in the portal, and they fought to keep him. And does he make any impact at all? Does he play? And then Lee Hunter, who's now starting at UCF and making a huge impact down there, probably one of their 10 best players, according to one of their coaches I talked to the other day. And so that's 5 guys right there that, would be in. Now, I guess Dre Butler, no, he was a JUCO guy. So this would be probably his last year. And all those other guys should be in there, right? And just some misses, some transfers, and when you're signing those guys, you're thinking, oh my God, we got Jay Hardy and Zykeva's shit, and then the next year Hunter Robinson, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. But you can't have too many misses in a row, and you can't have too many guys leave, or you get in a situation like this. Kemba had shoulder surgery, I believe, he did right after he got here, so that was always going to be an issue. Plus, he hadn't played football very long.
Yeah.
No, I think he came over from France and had played, 1 year of high school football?
And here's the part that really concerns me is that during the offseason, I got to see if my memory's right, guys. Were the two areas that we heard were going to be the best on the team, the O-line and the D-line from internal people?
It's supposed to be, right?
Yeah,
I think
those
so.
are the experts. They're around him every day. So, and I don't think they would intentionally feed us a line of garbage. I think they –
Well, on paper, you had to think that the line would be improved, right? And it was average last year. You would think that the line, with all the returners coming back, was going to be improved.
Well, they seem to be happy to get those guys back and, give them another year in the system. I thought that was kind of the narrative.
So turnovers, yes. Quarterback issues, yes. But and the O-line was better the other day. But overall, when you look at why they're 3 and 4, well, O-line and the D-line were supposed to be two strengths of the team, and they're not.
Yeah.
No, not to this point.
Secondary by far is the best area, right? Can we?
Yeah.
Well, and constantly improving too, in my opinion. Minus Puckett had a really rough game this past week, but other than him, I thought the secondary played pretty well.
Yep. And running backs are pretty strong too.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're not going to get any complaint with me from Jarvis.
And when I say that just means they can make big plays at any time, whether they do or not. They are capable, and they are.
When they don't get hit 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, right.
Are we called up, Zach?
Got 2 more.
Okay, keep them.
2891. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Rodney from Birmingham.
What's up, buddy?
Rodney?
Rod, yes, sir.
Okay, cool. What's up, Rod?
Okay, with this next coaching search, you think Auburn got to shoot for the stop?
Yes.
So I was thinking, do you guys think they're going to get like a Luke Fickle from Cincy, since he's been shown to win, recruit in the Midwest, or go to like UCLA and get a Chip Kelly, or maybe go to Clemson and try to get Dabo since he's from Birmingham? But who knows if he'll want to come to Alabama coach in the second place in the Saban.
What were the options?
So
Luke Fickle, Chip Kelly,
And Dabo.
Dabo Swinney.
I think you can rule Dabo out. I don't think he's leaving Clemson.
I don't know why he would.
No.
And
He's got more money than he knows what to do with.
Chip Kelly's an interesting thought.
Where's Chip Kelly? Is he at UCLA?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he'd be a terrible fit for.
They're undefeated right now.
Okay, Rodney, I'll throw my 2 cents in. Jhead just mentioned it. Everybody that you mentioned except for Dabo, Luke Fickle to me is not – I don't know his background. He just doesn't move the needle for me. Chip Kelly would be not a good fit for the Deep South. I just don't see it. I mean, now look at what's the other Kelly's name over at LSU?
Brian.
To me, that would be a similar fit. Like, that was awful. Now, of course, they made Florida look like a bunch of Keith Niebers out there. Yeah. Keith, were you pissed?
Listen, man. I don't. I'm so far removed. I haven't been to a game in years.
I hear you. Me too. I just like getting
you know what pisses me off? That my friends that I went to school with there have to call me all day Sunday. And I can't get any damn work done because they're bitching. That's what drives me.
You're just trying to lay out with Fernando, ain't you?
I didn't watch. I didn't watch one play of that game, but what I do is actually watch one game and I follow the rest on my computer, and I'm constantly hitting refresh. And I just saw LSU touchdown drive.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, what's going on there?
Hey, Rodney, I'll say this: Auburn needs a Josh Heupel, right? I mean, look at
could have had him last time.
Well, Josh Heupel, when that whole everybody shuffled coaches in the SEC that year, it seemed like, And Josh Heupel may have been the quietest hire of all of them.
Well, that's because his was later on, remember?
Oh, yeah, because Phil –
Was that not the class of Kelly, Harsin,
But it wasn't like
Heupel, Beamer,
Yes.
Norville? I mean,
But he wasn't hired in December, though. He was hired after all the other guys. When didn't Pruitt get fired early the next year?
Yeah.
Pruitt got fired back like right around Christmas. That's when the recruiting scandal broke, when the NCAA sanctions came down. I don't think Heupel was hired until after the turn of the new year.
Well, it just seems to me like the Billy Napier was such a big,
that's what I saw.
blown up hire, and maybe even Brian Kelly to an extent.
Oh, yeah.
And, who else? There's
Beamer was that year.
Beamer, Sam Pittman, I think.
Yep, Sam Pittman.
Well, Pittman was the year before. So Pittman was 2000.
But that was Harsin, right?
No,
Harsin?
so Harsin was 2020. So the year that Pittman was hired, you had Kiffin,
Kiffin,
Eli Drinkowitz, and Sam Pittman were all hired that year. The next year it was Beamer, Harsin, the guy at Tennessee, and there was one other.
Clark at Vanderbilt too, I think, right?
Clark Lee,
yeah. God, who's the guy at Vanderbilt? He was the DC at Notre Dame.
Clark
Lee. So that was
Clark
that
Lee,
class.
LEA.
Yeah. And then this past year you had Billy Napier, Brian Kelly.
My point was of the new wave of coaches. It just seemed like Heupel was sort of a quieter one. Like it just didn't get all the press that some of those got. And maybe I missed it, but it just seemed like it was a quieter hire.
Well, he didn't have a big name. People thought they were going on probation.
Yep.
The program was in the so there were a bunch. They weren't able to go out and get a big name, and maybe there's a lesson there, right?
Well, they had that whole.
That was on the downturn. He was 6-4 that year they hired him, coming out of that COVID year. He was 6-4 that season, and nobody had him on the move to anywhere. You know what I mean? Until Danny White got that job at Tennessee, Heupel really wasn't even in play for anybody else as far as that was concerned. He wasn't a sexy name at all.
Right.
But it goes where you fit, and I think that's what you're talking about, Cole.
Remember, they hired Kevin Steele knowing that Pruitt wasn't going to last, and it was
they were just going to elevate him.
Yeah.
They had the whole Schiano thing too. Remember where they brought him in and were going to hire him, and they had the protest and it was a big deal. So it was like
something like that would never happen at Auburn, you know.
And then they hired the dude from Sand Mountain.
The Sand Mountain, sure it is. Oh, good. So, Rodney, I don't think Auburn will. I don't think any of those three will be serious. The names Justin's been here the most, and Jhead can back me up here if I'm wrong. Here is Jeff Grimes, Hugh Freeze, Lane Kiffin.
Yep.
I definitely think
guys, I was told the
Keith wants Urban Meyer.
Yeah, whatever. He'd be fine. I was talking to somebody, an SEC coach yesterday, and they said, that if Brian Harsin would have been ousted earlier this year, that there was a very good chance that Charles Kelly was going to be into that position. Yeah. Right?
Oh, Charles Kelly, yeah. He needs to be mentioned too, right?
Not a lot of people mentioning him. Maybe he's
and one other SEC assistant that I'll talk about when we get off the show.
Okay. Charles Kelly might be the dark horse here, right?
Yeah, that's what
I think so. He's got a lot of support.
Alabama defensive back coach, a lot of history there with Auburn, a lot of relationships there with people that probably matter.
Former high school coach in the state of Alabama?
Yes. Former two-time high school coach in the state of Alabama, has coached at several regional programs in Georgia Tech, Florida State, Tennessee, and now the University of Alabama, where he's been Nick Saban's chief lieutenant for the last 4 seasons.
I wouldn't jump off a bridge if it was him.
Guy that gets along real well with people who do what we do.
Saw him, by the way.
Right.
Friday night, not this last Friday night, 2 Friday nights ago at the Carver game, seeing James Smith and Quay Russaw. He was there.
By himself, by the way.
No, he
was with, Auburn sent 2.
He was with Freddie Roach.
Oh, well, Auburn had the head coach there.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Zach, hit us with one more time. Good stuff, Rodney. We appreciate your call, big dog.
Thanks, Rodney.
Keep Forestdale safe up there.
All right, last caller of the night here, 9035. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Bo is great.
Boise.
What's up, man?
What's going on, guys?
Coach?
Bo is great, if I'm not mistaken. You got some minor heritage there, don't you, buddy?
Yeah, about that way. I might have stood on a sideline or two up that way.
Yeah. Well, what's on your mind tonight, Bo?
I just want to see what your thoughts are on who's really pulling the strings on recruiting right now, if it's not Harsin. I mean,
I'll thank you for that question, Bo, because we needed to touch more on this. So I wanted to point out Auburn's got some momentum right now in recruiting, and people are going, "What the hell's going on?" And I'm going to tell you, and Keith mentioned it earlier. On to Victory, Auburn's NIL is keeping Auburn in the game here with a lot of folks. And if somebody disagrees with me, jumping right in.
Nope. No.
Auburn's NIL on to Victory, Brett Whiteside, Beth Burkett, dude, they are absolutely making an impact in recruiting. They are keeping Auburn in the ball game here. Because it's really hard to explain, right? There was a lot of people, Clay Whedon just committed 5 days ago, and people are going, what the hell's going on? And Reuben Bain getting some momentum there. You got some momentum with Alex Sanford. You got some momentum, with a couple of these guys. And it's like, how is that possible?
And most plug and play too. It's not like we're going out with a system guy or a gimmick guy. They're all plug and play guys. It's meat and potato folks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's players any coach could coach with.
Right.
I think Harsin's still pulling the shots, though. Or calling the shots, pulling the shots.
Oh, yeah. I don't think anybody – yeah. I think it's status quo from the coaches.
Yeah.
But I think without an NIL, we're not talking about Reuben Bain right now. Yeah. We're not talking about Auburn being a really good contender for Quay Russo and James Smith. We're not talking about.
Feeling he's on the phone with these recruits, though. I don't get the feeling he's directing a ton of the staff activities toward them. I mean, not in a normal sense.
I don't know. I sort of disagree. I think what's the term in football? I said it on the board, play to the whistle, right? I think that he's going on the road this week. He's going to see key targets. He's going to see the junior college offensive lineman Keyshawn Blackstock next Saturday. So no, I think it sort of is business as usual, quite frankly. I do. I really believe that. We haven't seen any real shift yet. We haven't seen anybody pulled off. No real changes. It feels like anyway. Now maybe behind the scenes, who knows? But it feels like status quo right now. To be honest with you, Jeffrey, you feel the same?
Right. Absolutely. From the coaches on down, status quo. No, I have not seen anything, and I have heard anybody going, he just stopped calling me. I haven't heard back from him. I haven't had any of that.
And what you say to a recruit is, hey, I intend to – now, you don't bring it up, by the way, if you're an Auburn coach. You let them bring it up, and then you address it. But you say, I intend to be here. We intend to be here. But if something should happen, here are all the reasons why you should still look at Auburn. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. Everybody does the same thing. All these guys – here's the good thing. Most of these guys on the staff have been through this situation before. They've been on staff where there were hot seats and some hotter than others. They've been fired. They've had great success. They've had to do rebuilds. It runs the gamut. So they know what they're doing here. It's you just keep plugging away. You keep recruiting. I mean, Brumbaugh was on the road last week.
Christian Robinson went to see Alex Sanford.
They're all going to be on the road this week. You sell Auburn first and foremost. Now, maybe the one shift would be maybe you start selling Auburn a little bit more than yourself. But I don't know. I think that would maybe give something away. Hey, they don't. This guy. Why is this?
Yeah, I don't think you get into that.
Yeah, maybe you just keep doing what you were doing, and
you build your relationship.
You get them on campus.
Doesn't live with Auburn, and a lot of them do.
I mean, getting them on campus has always been our biggest key.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
Yeah, and that showed big with the Miami kids for the LSU game.
Well, you guys do a great job, and I appreciate you.
Big job, Big Bo. I appreciate you, big dog. Loyal subscriber right here, folks.
Absolutely.
He's in my Hall of Fame.
Hey, he'll keep us in check every once in a while, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Somebody's got to keep me in check, man. That's a full-time job.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Bo. This week is going to be entertaining. Auburn's off this week. We know we've already mentioned the coaches will be on the road, I think, every day this week. I think Brian Harson's going with Christian Robinson to see Ruben Bain or Rock Bellantoni Friday night in Miami. Will Friend and Brian Harson are going Saturday to Kansas to see Keyshawn Blackstock. I would imagine every day this week coaches will be on the road, and we will be all over it. We will be covering it on a daily this week, where the coaches are going, who they're going to see. We know Jimmy Brumbaugh was seeing JUCO guys last week. Auburn wants some JUCO linemen. Like we said, these guys have to recruit as though they're going to be here next year. What's the needs? Well, we need guys that can come in and make immediate impacts. He went and saw Elijah Davis last week. He went and saw Jones Community College, which is home to the Ole Miss. I think he's a JUCO, number one JUCO offensive tackle. Guy to keep an eye on. He's committed to Ole Miss. I don't know if I already said that. But Auburn, I mean, shoot, man. What better place for the number one offensive tackle, junior college offensive tackle to go than Auburn right now? If playing immediately is on a high priority for you. So a lot going on this week. We will be all over it. Zach, did we got caught up with our calls?
Yeah, calls are good. I'll good for a
we'll do a quick lightning round with some questions, and then I gotta go make some calls.
We gotta do our plugs too.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get to the plugs. There you go. Thank you. All right, Parker Beasley. Does the Jeff Grimes hire not feel like a less depressing version of a Kevin Steele hire? Longtime assistants don't get me excited, but would be happy being wrong, obviously. Georgia fans are glad that you didn't have that same sentiment when they hired their coach.
Yeah.
Last two coaches there.
Yep. Look, coaching searches are a crapshoot. You know what I mean? To me, it's all about talent acquisition and fit. And if those two things are right, to me, it does not matter whether you're a coordinator, an assistant coach, you know what I mean, a successful G5 coach or a successful P5 coach. I mean, look, Jimbo Fisher walked out with all the credentials in the world from Florida State, and to this point still has an 8-4 record at Texas A&M. I mean, that's just – it is what it is. If the fit's right and you're getting talent and you're able to develop that talent, everything else is irrelevant.
Right.
My daddy talks really loud. Ed Darby wants to know, how much do we credit Ole Miss 326 for allowing Auburn to tank rushing the ball for 300 yards? Hell, it's got to be something to it, right, Cole? He's done it now 2 years in a row.
Yeah, 100%.
Every game Auburn has faced 8 or 9 men in the box. I saw even the announcers were like, there's 5 guys in the box. Of course they're going to run the football.
Yeah, it had a lot to do with it. It really did.
Yeah. So, personnel packages. Auburn handled it well. Rustin Robinson. Cool name, Rustin. Do y'all think Cadillac and Zach will be on the new staff since they are Auburn guys? I have no idea.
Depends on who the next head coach is.
It's impossible to say, man.
Yeah, I think they got a chance, obviously, but it would be truly contingent on who the hire is, should and if we part ways with Coach Harsin and when that happens.
Yeah, you just never know. The head coach may be best friends with the next big running back coach. I mean, they all run in the same circles, and
it's a network. Yep.
We would know, again, coaching firing has to happen first. But until we would know who the guy is, then you start comparing his resume to other guys that he may have come across.
I think that's a great question for when the head coach is hired, right?
Yep. Like once you
Sid
know
wants to know.
you can start to ask.
Yeah, right. Sid wants to know, is it a case of Harsin needing his players for his system? I think he just needs players, man, and he just hasn't been able to get them.
He needs players for his system.
Yes, but also
yeah, that would help, man.
It's a good start.
But also, though, not to be overly critical, but the 3 quarterbacks, all 4 scholarship quarterbacks on the team were brought in by him. Okay, so if they don't pan out, that's not my fault. It's not. It's on them. They know that. That's not assigning blame. They know that. They know the deal. So yes and no. Now you could argue that there weren't. I don't know. The tight end room was the run room I thought was perfect for what they were going to want to do.
Sure.
Yeah, right. And they help, but
I don't know.
They've been great. I will. Here's my hot take, and I don't know if I've said it already. The starting quarterback in 2023 is not on Auburn's roster right now.
Listen,
Next question.
There's a chance all four of these quarterbacks might not be on the team.
Hey, real quick.
I think Robbie's stuck. I don't think he can leave as a grad transfer. I think he's the only one of that group. I do think that Calzada and TJ are set up to be grad transfers after this season. And because Robbie's already burned his transfer, I think he's locked in. But I think there's a chance that Holden, who obviously is a Harsin guy, could move on should he not like the next head coach if that happens. So you're right, Keith. There could be 3 quarterbacks on the move, contingent on how this all shakes out.
Yeah,
Jason Rhodes. Okay, jump in there, Cole.
I just wanted to add that to me, the best coaches out there are the ones who can take what they have and make the most of it. Lane Kiffin, for example, threw, for whatever yardage he did the game before Auburn, and then he ran for 400 because he made that adjustment based on what he saw. He has the personnel for it. He recruited for it, and he's got the option to go back and forth on whatever fits the situation. And to me,
Mingo broke
great sign.
Mingo broke the single game Ole Miss record last week, and then he didn't. I think he had 1 catch this week.
1 target. I don't think
1 target against Auburn. Yeah, 1 target. Yes.
It's because he was locked up in man coverage with DJ James pretty much.
Ooh.
Yeah, but hey,
4, baby.
That didn't stop Kiffin, did it? I mean, he figured it out. He figured out what he had to do.
100%.
Jason Rose wants to know what's the deal with some of the assistants not being on the road recruiting. Dude, that's a good question, man. I mean, as far as like Brad Bedell, Will Friend, there were a couple of. I think there were 4. Schmedding, Keesaw have not been on the road, but we know why. They hold meetings on Friday nights. As far as Bedell and those guys, maybe they're waiting for the right opportunity. I honestly don't know. I'm going to be curious to see, excuse me, the daily lineups this week, who's going out, where they're going out, but most of I think there were 5 coaches that's been on the road every week. Christian Robinson's been out there. Jimmy Brumbaugh has been all over the place. Zach has been out.
Yeah.
Who am I forgetting? Ike's been all over the place. Cadillac's been all over the place.
Seen them,
but
saw them at the Central IMG game.
That's 5. Rock Bellantoni has not been out. He's a special teams coordinator. Keesaw, Brad Bedell, Schmedding, and Will Friend. I think there are 5 that's been out and 5 that haven't. So we're curious to see, Jason. I hope you're a subscriber to Auburn Live on 3 because we're going to be all over that this week. Who's going out and who they're going to see, and I think that'll be very interesting. Lee Head. Is that the my daughter marries your son? Oh, Lee Head. How about you?
That might be my
so
brother.
What happened? Yeah. Oh, would that be the Jhead?
It may be.
Oh, Jhead. All right. Lee?
So what happens to Calzada if Harsin leaves, and what's the chances he actually plays? Oof. I think he's planning on staying at Auburn right now. To the best of my understanding. I think he's planning on staying at Auburn to compete in the spring, and we'll see where it goes from there. But I wouldn't look beyond spring for a lot of these guys. I think that's going to be a decision or a turning point. If we have a new head coach, like Keith has said multiple times, whether you were encouraged to get into the portal before spring training or you're encouraged afterwards, there is always a lot of attrition when a new coaching staff comes in.
Man. Well, I tell you what, that was the turning point for me for the season. It was right before, 2 weeks before kickoff, and TJ Finley was named the starter.
Oh, yeah, that was it.
Deuces, bro. I was done. Gary. What's up, Gary? How about that weather? Gary wants to know, I want to hear about Auburn recruiting budget. Here's way behind other SEC schools. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers. People have been putting on the board, but I will say this. Gary, here's one of the things. Arkansas, let's just look at it in a different way here. What school would have to pay more, Arkansas or Auburn, to be competitive?
Arkansas.
No recruits live in Arkansas. So
right.
Budget, flying people from Miami, flying people from Texas. At Auburn, a lot of your visits aren't really costing you a whole heck of a lot, quite frankly. Because
you should be able to field a roster in a driving distance of Auburn.
Again, I don't know. It probably isn't necessarily – it may not be where it needs to be, and I don't have the numbers in front of me because we didn't know this question was coming. But, again, most of your roster, is going to – 80% of your roster at Auburn is probably going to come from Florida, Georgia, or Alabama, and most of those kids can just drive to where you're at. So a school like an Iowa, a school like a Wisconsin – I'll give you a perfect example, Oregon. They're going to have to spend more money than Auburn.
Michigan State.
Yes. So now USC, probably not. Probably don't need to, But so that's the starting point there. But yeah, I think I saw the numbers too, and it didn't look like it blew me away. But I don't think. Let's put it this way. I guess it's the best way to approach this. I've never heard anybody at Auburn say we don't have enough money to do we don't have enough money in our Auburn recruiting budget. I've been covering them 10 years. Jeffrey, you've been covering them longer. Have you ever once heard somebody at Auburn say we need more money in our recruiting budget?
As a matter of fact, it would say more to me if Auburn was up at the top, because you don't need that. Auburn doesn't need a huge recruiting. If you're at the top of all the SEC and recruiting budget, you're doing it wrong. If you're at Auburn, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
Georgia, Alabama, Florida, you should be able to fill 85 scholarships every year and compete for SEC titles every year. You ought to be at the last half of the SEC in recruiting budget. If you're not, you're doing it wrong.
And that's how it has been for years at Auburn. Those three states have been huge for Auburn. When Brian Harsin and his staff come in, they try to expand the landscape, and maybe, I don't know, just a theory, maybe the budget maybe played into that and said, well, we kind of stay here,
No,
right.
This didn't. I think it was a kind of a waste. But people say, okay, look, let's use Florida State as an example. They're in Florida; they must have it made. Well, look where Tallahassee's at. Auburn is within 2 hours of just about every part of Atlanta. 2 hours from Birmingham. Montgomery's right down the road. 3 hours.
Mobile.
Okay. And then not only that, you're not that far. You're a straight shot away into that fertile Mississippi and the Mississippi JUCOs, right?
Yeah.
So now if you're Florida State, what population center do you have anywhere near you? Well,
Mobile, and that's it.
Mobile, Jackson.
Yeah.
What, 90 plus 6 to 2.5 hours away or 2 hours away? 4 hours to Orlando. You're actually better at Auburn than you are at a school that's in Florida, okay? Less money that needs to be spent to get guys there, okay? I mean, it's not, so.
Interesting subject, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Made the point for whoever the next head coach is that that is such a talent dense area that you can make your whole roster. You can draw a 6-hour radius around Auburn, and you can pull your entire roster from right there if you want to, and go out to other states and cherry pick places like Texas.
There you go, Texas.
But they're on the board wondering, why isn't Auburn spending more money? But again, you make the greatest point, Jeffrey. They don't need to. They don't. And again,
they shouldn't.
That point, and again, let me be clear about this. Not once. Now, watch, I'll get 4 calls after this runs from people. But not once has somebody ever said we need more money in the recruiting budget.
Yeah.
One thing we know is Auburn's willing to spend money to win in football. Okay.
Yeah. Ask Travis Williams and T-Rob if we need more money in the recruiting budget. Those guys were able to get dudes on campus. It wasn't an issue. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Matt Nunnally wants to know about Dave Aranda. Forget Jeff Grimes. I don't know enough about Dave Aranda.
I don't either.
Quiet guy. I had a guy that I know in the business worked for him and now is at Nebraska. He said he was a great guy, but he's sort of quiet, calm. Apparently he's happy at Baylor. I mean,
Are they good?
Yeah. Well, they were last year.
That's kind of what I thought. One year wonder.
West Virginia the other night, didn't they? In a shootout.
Yeah, they let Neil Brown get a big one in there.
Yeah.
Oh, good for Neil Brown.
Might just be happy there. Some guys just found that right fit, and Mark Stoops. I feel good where I'm at.
Yeah.
Hayden wants to know who would I hire? My head coach would be, out of the guys that are mentioned, would be Lane Kiffin. Out of the guys mentioned, Lane Kiffin would be my guy. He moves the needle for me.
Yeah.
I think Auburn will be competing for the SEC West in 2 years. I think there would be a 7 or 8 win season next year, and then a 9 or 10 win season the next year. I like him. Jhead, he's the best play caller in the SEC, maybe the nation. He'd do wonders. This program needs somebody who can build it back quickly, and he showed last year at Ole Miss. The transfer portal, God bless America. To me, he's a realistic option, so he would be my guess. Zach, how's that? We good? I know Cole has. We good?
Mm-hmm.
Called up pretty good. All right, cool, man. Great questions tonight, man. I know, Keith. I'm going to be down in South Florida, and I was hoping to get some golf lessons. Does Fernando do golf lessons, or does he rub sunblock on your body?
plugs. Okay, we decided that we have friends that have businesses. We want to help them out. Why not? So, if you're in Florida, you're down in Miami, the Rick Smith Golf Performance Center, my high school teammate and longtime friend Sebastian, they'll treat you right. They've got all this incredible equipment. They'll compare your swing to Rory McIlroy's up on using computer graphics, and but then they also know how to break it down step by step. So I've had 3 lessons, and we're only addressing two things each time. That's it. Let's just get the grip and the setup first. We won't move on to step 2 until you get that.
Interesting.
It's done wonders today. I was out on the range today hitting 290-yard drives, and well, they might have been going further than that. I'm pretty modest.
He said, "Let the big dog eat."
Have you seen my swing, Keith?
I have, yes.
Looking like 10 cups.
So that's my Golf Performance Center.
Rick, not to be confused with the Indiana Pacer Hall of Famer.
Rick Smith.
Right. Jhead, you got a plug you want to throw in?
I do. Speaking of that, if you're going to be down in Florida and you need a fresh cut, head over to Mike's Barbershop here on Schillinger in Mobile. Talk to my guy, Justin. He will take care of you whether you need a fresh fade or anything else. I assure you.
Line me up.
Line me up. You can't go wrong with a really good barber. Go see Mike's Barbershop.
Mike's Barbershop, and that's in?
You said Florida.
Mobile, Alabama.
Mobile, okay.
Yep.
All right. Mike's Barbershop, Mobile. Cole, you got a bait shop you want to talk about?
Mine is the Rick Smith. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Cotton. Coosa Cotton.
I got to get me a hat from there,
Where
man.
are they based out of, Cole?
I'm not sure. I know a guy that runs it, and he is a massive, massive Auburn fan. He has just joined our board, The Corner, and he watches our show all the time, probably watching right now. So he gave me
for me.
Yeah. So it's him and a few guys, and they're all Auburn fans.
Columbiana.
Yeah. Are you looking it up?
Yeah, CoosaCotton.com, Columbiana, Alabama.
Columbiana. So yeah, that's near the Birmingham area for those that are not from Alabama. Coosa Cotton clothing, hats, big Auburn fans. So
shirts, headwear, performance, outdoor bottoms.
And let me yeah, they got a lot of good outdoor stuff. It looks like, Jeffrey. Let me add this. I'm cooking up one right now, a new plug that is actually affiliated with our board. The Corner has reached out to me, and I'll let you know when that comes to fruition. That should happen.
Got something in the works, huh?
Yeah. One of our loyal guys on The Corner there.
All right.
Got a business.
We should support each other. Why they support
Absolutely.
us?
Absolutely. Hey, I went to get my eyes checked this past week, and went to see Dr. Andrea Hardwick in Auburn. And listen, I've known Andrea since we were pups. We went to school together. She was a minor chick. She's now Andrea. It was Andrea Lockhart. She's now Andrea Hardwick, and has a man. I'm gonna tell you right now, she give the best eye exam. Unbelievable. Guess what, folks? I gotta get bifocals.
Jeff, you're showing your age, baby.
And listen, this is what happened. I was like, bifocals? Andrea, what are you talking about? She goes, you're old. Have you not looked in the mirror lately? I said, cash me out, big dog.
Yeah, man.
She said, you ain't looked in the mirror? Oh, God dang. As Murph 69 would say, you're going to treat a paying customer like that. You're going to talk to a paying customer like that. We love you, Murph. But yeah, Andrea, I'm telling you, dude, and it was very, very economic friendly. It was a great eye exam. Dr. Andrea Hardwick there on North Dean Road in Auburn. Check that out. The awesome eye exam. Really good. So, want to support the former minor majorette, if I'm not mistaken. Tigerette. Fantastic girl. I think that's going to do it, folks. We're going to be back. Keith and I will be back in the morning with Inside the 20. We got another War Room Plus in the making that will be out tomorrow morning. We'll be back Wednesday. Keith and I will be. Then we're going to have a modcast on Thursday. We're going to have updates all week long on the coaches going out on the road. We're going to have a lot of recruiting buzz continuing throughout this week. Auburn's going to be off next weekend, so all of us will be up in a deer stand. And even Keith, he'll be out by the pool with Fernando. But we'll be back. Thanks for everybody listening. Hey, listen, we had Gracie call in, first female Hall of Famer right there,
Yes.
first ballot Hall of Fame. Jason from Atlanta, Sparks from Atlanta, Rodney from Birmingham. Bo is great. Oh, Parker came in with a question. Rustin, Sid, Jason, Lee, Gary, Ed, JP, Auburn Tiger Blogging, Lawrence, Brad, Dustin, JF. Man, we had a lot of good stuff tonight. We appreciate everybody. We appreciate everybody listening, calling in with the questions. For Keith Niebuhr, for Cole Pinkston, for Jhead, for Zach in the back, man, I'm Jeffrey Lee. Y'all stay out of the left lane. See ya.